Okay, welcome back everyone to our Motzei Shabbos marathon as we really went ahead on Daf Lamed Beis because I didn't want to stop in the middle. And we are taka holding by Maskeflo Rav Ashi, which is closer to the bottom than the top, but we'll say from the top. 13 lines from the top. 13 lines from the top of Daf Lamed Beis Amud Aleph. As we welcome our 29 Zoomers over here. Now, the case that we've been talking about over here, as we welcome in Larry Seidman, Jack Silverman, who is joining us, the case that we're talking about here, did we lose Eddie Chazan? I think we lost Eddie Chazan. Oh, no, he's there. He's still there. Okay. I mean, we know he's on the run, but he's always on the run. So anyway, the case that we're talking about over here is where we had Moshe Cohen. Moshe Cohen had a reputation of being a kohen. And what happened was there was a rumor that he was a Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, and a rumor, of course, is with two people. So we demoted him. Then one witness came and bona fide said that he's not a Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, and one witness could dispel a rumor, so we promoted him. Then two witnesses came and said, no, he's a Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, and we again demoted him. And now another witness came and said that he's a kosher kohen, and here we have a machloikis whether to promote him again or not. So the Gemara says, Maskevlo Rav Ashi says, if the reason that Rabbi Lazar says that we don't promote him again because we're worried once we demoted him when the two witnesses came, we're not going to promote him. So if that's the case, then ihachi ma'ir yachad. Why, if after the two witnesses came and said that he's a Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, it says if one witness comes, we don't re-promote him? Afilu b'trei nami. Even if two witnesses come together afterwards and say that he's kosher, we should still not promote him because we should be worried about the reputation of the court. El Amar Rav Ashi says, we're not worried about the reputation of the court. The machloikis over here is when one witness said he was good, two witnesses say he's not good, and then another witness comes and says he's good, will we combine those two single witnesses who didn't come at the same time? Here we're arguing about whether we could combine these two fractured witnesses. And it's a completely different machlokes. And the Gemara is going to tell us now two machlokes. The Tanya, this is a different machlokes. Here what happened is that Irving and Rabbi Kranz say that Shelley took a loan from Dr. Black on Sunday of $1,000. Well, not Irving and Rabbi Kranz. Irving said that Shelley took a loan from Dr. Black of $1,000 on Sunday. And Rabbi Kranz says that Irving took a loan from Dr. Black of $1,000 on Monday. Can we combine the two? Both say that he owes him the money. So the Tanakama says, you can't combine them unless they both see the same thing. Otherwise, there's one witness that saw on Sunday and one witness that saw on Monday. Rabbi Shimon Karchai, we don't look at it that way. There's two witnesses that Shelley owes Dr. Block $1,000. Afilu b'zeh achazeh, it could be even one after another. But that's not negayos. That's a different machlokes. This next one is negayos. Ein edusen miskayemes bebezdin at sheidu shneim ke'echad. If Irving comes to the court one day and testifies, and then Rabbi Kranz comes to a court on another day, you cannot combine their testimonies unless they unless they testified at the same time. Rab Nasan I mishayim dvar shel zeh hayom ulekishya v'chaver lemachar. You could listen to Irving on one day, and when Rabbi Kranz comes the next day, shayim dvarav, and we put them together. And that's the machlokes over here. The machlokes over here is where one aid came and said that Moshe Kayin is a kosher Kayin. Then two aidim said he's not. And then another aid comes and says that he's kosher. Since they came at two separate times, could they combine? But everybody holds if they can combine, we would re-promote him, and we're not worried about Zilusa de Beidina. And since we're not worried about Zilusa de Beidina, then in our case over here, we would certainly take it away from Mark and put it again in the question column, since when Eddie brings witnesses that he also belongs to his ancestors, so that now it's back to square one, and we're not worried about the reputation of the court of reversing it and taking it away from Mark. Now, our 30th, we still have 29 Zoomers, as we are just joined, I think, by Marshall Castle. Yes, by Marshall Castle. Better late than never, Marshall. Marshall also has the Chicago excuse. Marshall, we are holding at, we waited for you by the two dots, 2 lines from the bottom of Daf Lamed Beis Amud Aleph. 2 lines from the bottom of Lamed Beis Amud Aleph. By the way, everybody, it is looking like there will be another chok tomorrow night. I had a restful Shabbos, and I prepared another chok, the first one in Parshas Mitzayra. We will be looking for a sponsor for that chok, the first chok of Mitzayra day 1. I hope to do tomorrow night after the daf. Right now we're holding 2 lines from the bottom of Lamed Beis Amud Aleph. Hahu damalei lechavre. So here, Eddie tells Mark. You notice how Eddie is like keeping away from the screen. I don't know what's going on with him. Oh, there he is now. He's playing peekaboo. Okay. Yeah, I know. Eddie, he's not sure. He's not very comfortable when he's in the same place for more than 10 minutes. So he just has to move to the end of the hall and come back. I know what it is like. Wanderlust. Now, so Audam Alei Lechavre, Eddie tells Mark, my boy is Bayar, what are you doing on my land? Amalei, so Mark tells him, Minoch Zavinte, I bought it from you, V'hashtara, and here's my document. And Mark, when it says that Mark said, here's my document, it means that Mark also provides authentication for the document. He brings the 2 witnesses that identify the signature. So Eddie looks at him, and Eddie tells him, Amalei shtora zaifu. This is a forged document. Now, it happens to be Mark. Eddie is right. It is a forged document. Mark lost his document. Mark is telling the truth. He bought it from Eddie, but he lost it. And instead of coming to the court with nothing, he forged it. He forged it so well that the witnesses identified their signatures. Mark has connections. But essentially, Mark is an honest guy. So Gochin Lochish Leila Rabba, Mark bends down to Rabba in Shtora Zaifu. It is a forgery. Miu Shtora Ma'al Yahavali. I had a good star. V'irkis, and it got lost. So V'amina in Kedai Biyodei Kodo. I'll bring this. Now Mark here has a migu. What's his migu? He didn't have to admit that it was a forgery. It was already authenticated by the witnesses. So he didn't have to admit that it was a forgery. So Amar Rabba Maloi L'Shakeh. What would purpose would there be for him to lie? If he wanted, he could have said Shtar Malyu. It's a good shtar. It was already authenticated. If it was already authenticated, then it would be awarded to him because he has a shtar. So why shouldn't he be believed? So Rav Yosef says, I don't understand. He says it's his, and here's the shtar. If it's not the shtar, then that erases his claim. You can't take part of the claim. Amar Rav Yosef, Amai Samchis. He made a claim. I bought it from Eddie, and this is the shtar. We have to take that whole claim. We can't take that whole claim. Amar Rav Yosef, Amai Samchis, Hai Shtar Chaspa Balmu. This shtar is a shard. We can't accept the shard. Now, before we get into what the decision is, the Gemara gives us a parallel case. Ha'odam lechavrei, hovli mei zuzei de masiknaba. Here, Mark tells Eddie, give me the 100 zuz that you owe me. V'hashtara, and here's the promissory note. And again, Mark has it authenticated. Amalei, so Eddie looks at him and he says, Shtar Zaifu. It's a forged document. So again, Mark bends down to Rabba. Gochin Lachish Leid Rabba. He bent down and said to Rabba, it's true. Shtar Zaifu. It is a forge. Miu Shtar Ma'al Yahavali. I had a good promissory note. Ve'irkis. Va'amina, and I figured in Kedai Biyodi Kodo. I'll keep something in my hand. So again, Rabba said, look, he could have said that this is a good shtar. He had it authenticated. And again, Rabbi Yosef says, but he has to uphold this claim, right? That you owe me money and this is the shtar. And now it's not the shtar. So what's the halacha over here? So it's very interesting what the halacha is. Remember that this case started out with Eddie saying to Mark, what are you doing in my land? So that means that right now, Mark was in the land. So says the Gemara, Amar Rav Idi bar Avin Hilchas Kavase de Rabba Bara. Since we're not sure what the halacha is, and it's a suffix, we're going to give it to the one that's the mulzik. So in this case, since Mark was occupying the land, so we'll paskin that we believe him because he has a migu. The Hilchas HaKavasi de Rav Yosef bezuzi. And the halacha is like Rav Yosef by the zuz, by the money, because Mark wants to take the money away from Eddie. Right? Mark wants to take the 100 zuz from Eddie, so right now Eddie is the mulzik. So we paskin he can't take it away with this shtar, which is now a chaspa. Since Mark is in the land, we leave it by Mark. Look, mate, since he wants to take the money away from Eddie, we don't let him take the money away from Eddie. Now, you got to hear this case. What happened is Eddie owed $1,000 to Marshall. And Mark was the guarantor. I don't know why Mark does this to himself. But Eddie owed $1,000 to Marshall, and Mark guaranteed the loan. So how the Gemara is easy on everybody, makes it 100. Okay. How Arva, Mark, the guarantor, the Amalei L'Leiva, he tells Eddie, the debtor, Havli Meya Zuze, give me the 100 zuz, the Parati Lemilveilach, you owed 100 zuz to Marshall, and I paid it for you. And I'll prove that I paid it, because Marshall gave me the promissory note. V'hoshtar, I have the promissory note. So pay me the 100 zuz. Again, the case was that Marshall gave a loan of 100 zuz to Eddie, and Mark guaranteed it. When it became due, Mark, like a good boy, paid Marshall. So Marshall said, okay, here's the note, so you could recollect it from Eddie. And now, Mark goes to Eddie and says, give me the 100. Let's see it again. However, Mark, the guarantor, the Amalei L'Leivi, tells Eddie, Havli Meya Zuzek, give me the 100 zuz, the Parati Lemilveilva, that I paid Marshall on your behalf. V'ashtar, and here's the promissory note. Amalei. So nothing is easy between Eddie and Mark. Amalei, so Eddie tells Mark, Lav Paraticha. Didn't I pay you already, Mark? So Mark said, Lav Hodrish Shaklis Sinuminai. Didn't you re-borrow it from me? So Eddie said, I paid you. So Mark said, but didn't you take it back? Now you understand what's going on over here. Mark could have said, you didn't pay me, because he has the promissory note. Mark doesn't say that. Instead, Mark said, but didn't I give it back to you? Now, to claim again that Eddie owes him money a second time, he can't use the promissory note. The promissory note is worthless for that. Because the promissory note is just about the first loan. It's not about any second loan. So again, the promissory note is a shard. Right? The only thing is that Mark has the migu. That he could have said, no, you owe me the money. You didn't pay me. But Mark didn't say that. So this is the same machlokes between Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef. So Sholcha Ravidi Ba'avan Lekami de Abaye Ki Hai Gavna Mai. What's the din in such a case? Sholach Le Abaye Mai Tibayle. What are you asking? So the halacha is like Rabbi Yosef Bezuzek. So who's the murzik over here? Eddie. Mark wants to take money again away from Eddie, claiming that he gave him another loan. He can't do that, because Eddie is the murzik. Look, where the money is, that's where it stays. However, that's only if Mark says, yeah, you paid me, but I gave it to you again. But if Mark says, you tried to pay me the 100, but I returned it to you because you gave me worn out coins, or you gave me coins that are reddish and not good anymore, then Mark is in the right, because then Mark has a shtar, a promissory note, and he says that he never paid yet. And the raya is on behalf of Mark, because if Eddie paid, he should have taken the promissory note and ripped it up. The only time that Mark is up the creek is where he said, but I gave it to you again. That's a new loan. He doesn't have any proof of a new loan. But if he says, yeah, you tried to pay me the 100, but I returned it to you, because the coins were rubbed out, or the sumke, or red, and not good, then akate isa l'shibuda d'shtora. Then his promissory note is still strong because it's still the original 100 that he guaranteed for Marshall, which now he has the promissory note that Eddie owes him. And therefore then the right is with Mark finally, and Mark could collect the $100. Okay, a very nice, beautiful two-blot tonight, as we will now go and learn the Mishnah Yomis.